You can put up your dukes, or you can bet your boots that I'll be leaving just as fast as I can. I wanna go home with the armadillo. Good country music from Amarillo and Abilene. The friendliest people and the prettiest women you've ever seen. Hey there friends, how's it going today? David Potts here with Song Notes, and I'm going to show you how to play one of my all-time favorite songs in this lesson, London Homesick Blues. I moved to Austin, Texas 10 years ago this week, and since I've been here, there's so much amazing music that I have fallen in love with, and this is a lot of music that came out of Austin in the early 70s and the folks who were involved there, and this song is one of those absolute gems. I'm going to share it with you. I know this from Jerry Jeff Walker, his Viva Terlingua album, which was recorded in Luckenbach, and this is one of the songs that was written, I think, just put together by Gary P. Nunn the day before, I believe, and my understanding was they played it sort of spontaneously in the show. It went amazingly well. The crowd loved it. Listen to that recording if you've never heard it. It gives me chills just talking about it right now. But it's the best of all the music I've fallen in love with that sort of came out of the Austin scene or those folks who were here at that time. This recording and this song just sort of encapsulates it all. So I am excited to teach you how to play it right here. Get all my practice notes, all that stuff on my website, songnotes.net. It'll help you follow along. So for the verse of this song, right, let me show you the easiest possible way to play this. We did a single strum of each chord just to give you the lay of the land, right? A 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ready. When you're down on your luck and you ain't got a buck, in London you're a goner. 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3. Even London Bridge is falling down and moved to Arizona. Now I know why. 2, 3. Stay on C again. 2, 3. And I'll substantiate the rumor that the English sense of humor is drier than the Texas sand. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. But you can put up your dukes, or you can bet your boots that I'll be leaving just as fast as I can. 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. I wanna go home with the armadillo. Okay, and that takes us into the chorus. So that was a single strum playthrough. Let me talk about a bunch of things. I'll talk about strumming. A couple other notes though. In my notes, my practice notes on screen, you're gonna notice that sometimes it said skip if you're in a hurry. I note that on the first line, the third line, and the fourth line in the final measure. Here is why I say that, right? This song, it hangs out at the end of each line on whatever chord you're playing for an extra measure typically. And it kind of feels weird sometimes, like you expect the song to move along to the next line, but listen to the recording, they're not doing that, right? You can skip it if you're in a hurry. If you're practicing and you just want to move things along, that's fine, you can do it, right? Also, if you listen to David Allan Coe, he covered this song, he's gonna skip those measures that I've noted in my notes here. So there are performers who do that, it kind of adds a different feel to the song. It almost makes it sound like it's in a hurry, which sometimes isn't the vibe you want, right? If you're practicing and you just want to work on your chord transitions, it actually can be helpful. So I just want to note it. You can sort of take it as you may, but that's one thing to note. The other thing is you're going to see in my later version how for the D, right, especially the D, because you're on the D for 4 measures in a row a lot, that gets a bit old. What I will do is use a D7 in the final 2 measures of each of those clusters. That way it's like I'm on D for 2, right? So in London, you're a goner. And even London Bridge is falling down and moved to Arizona. Likewise, there is a G7 that I'll sneak in just before the C chord. Okay, it's serving as a sort of secondary dominant of sorts, which just means that anytime you play a G7 before a C, it sounds good to our ear. So that's another way I'll spice things up using 7th chords, right? That's in my notes as well. And then the last big tricky part of this is gonna be this E minor to the E flat chord. Now when I first saw this, other folks wrote up this song on Ultimate Guitar. I'm like, that can't be right, E flat, that's never used in this key. But when I watched Jerry Jeff play it, when I watched Gary P. Nunn play it, they're in fact playing an E flat chord. They play it a bit differently than I'm going to do it, but here's what I recommend to you, right? I teach songs on here. My whole priority, my goal is to give you the way that is most helpful and most approachable and accessible when it comes to learning these lovely songs. For the E minor, I recommend doing this 4-string version, right? Just second, open, open, third. on the thinnest 4 strings. And then what that does is it sets you up for this E flat where you're just moving your index finger down by 1 fret. You keep your pinky totally still, and then you're gonna add your ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. So that's your E flat 7. This is your E minor. This is your E flat 7. And it goes to a D. Right? The important part here is this bass note. That's why I have it circled in my practice notes. If you can, when you're strumming it, you really want to see how on the first strum I did there, I emphasized that bass note. I'll talk about strumming in a minute, but that's one thing I want to call out. In my practice notes, I have a whole page showing you a bunch of other ways you can play that E minor and that E flat. If you want some options, you could do little triads, right? You could do triads like that. You could do it like Jerry Jeff does, where he does an E minor up here, and then he's doing this E flat right here, and a D right there. But anyway, that's the chord tricky parts, and let me talk about strumming now, right? For strumming this, the sort of campfire strum I would recommend would be a down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. And the important part about this is on the 1 count, right? The first down strum of each measure. If you can, just try to get like the thicker couple strings of whatever chord and make it nice and light, right? For a G chord, for example, it would be down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. Okay, that's one thing I generally recommend. You can focus on just the bass note if you want, right? But even if you don't want to do that, just brush the thickest couple strings. Okay, that's the strum I would recommend. So that verse, if I strummed it like that, it would sound like this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. When you're down on your luck and you ain't got a buck, in London you're a goner. Even London Bridge is falling down, and moved to Arizona, and I know why. And I'll substantiate the rumor that the English sense of humor is tried in the Texas sand. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. But you can put up your dukes, or you can bet your boots that I'll be leaving just as fast as I can. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I wanna go home with the armadillo. What I'll do is I'll do a playthrough. A slow playthrough with no talking, no singing on my website using that simple strum style, right? So that way, if you want to reference this in a play-along video that's slow, zoomed in, no talking, simple strum, that'll be there for you, right? But let's look at the chorus now and learn how to play this. This is really fun. The chorus is going to start off with a measure where we have 2 chords, right? This is the only measure in the song where we have 2 chords in one measure. We're going to go from a C to a G over B. Okay, for the G over B, it's basically a G chord, but you're just going to play the middle 4 strings, and you want this 5th string, 2nd fret note to be your bass note. You're going to get one of those descending walk downs again. Right? I want to go home with the armadillo. 2, 3, 4. Now, the strumming here is going to be a down, down, up, down, down, up, down. Right? And then you resume your normal strum for the A minor. But if you can, for that C and that G over B and the first strum of the A minor, try to get the bass note, right? Okay, you stay on A minor for a couple measures there. Then we move into this really fun part. Now, the simplest way to do this is to do a C, D to G, 2, 3, 4, G, to the friendliest people and the prettiest women you ever seen. And you end on G. Now, let me do it one more time. Starting at the top, right? First line of the chorus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I wanna go home with the armadillo. Good country music from Amarillo to Abilene. The friendliest people and the prettiest women you ever seen. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm using that same strum I showed you. Again, that measure of C, I'm doing a down, down, bass, bass, down, down, up, down, right? So from the 3rd fret to the 4th fret, I'm using my ring finger because that's already there for the C chord, and I'm just moving it up. Same ring finger, and then open 4th string, and then you get into that D. that's going to capture the hint of what you hear, the full bass line that's played by the band in that part. So that's the simple strum version, right? Verse and chorus. Again, see my lesson webpage for a playthrough of that zoomed in. It's in my practice notes as well. So let's look at how to level this up. And I'm going to start with the chorus here. Let's do this first line and notice how the bass notes sound, not just in those first couple measures that I talked about, but throughout, especially measures 4 and 5 of that first line. Listen to this, right? I want to go home with the armadillo. Good country music from Amarillo to Abilene. The prettiest people and the friendliest women you've ever seen. Okay, back to line 1 here. So it starts off the same. C, G over B, A minor. Same way I already taught it to you, right? But here, we're gonna match what you hear in the full band version. Okay, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret, open on the 4th string. Then you do a strum of the D, and then we're gonna do this C bass note, which is the 3rd fret of the 5th string. And then the next line, we're gonna go to the 2nd fret of the 5th string for the G, and then the next measure, our G bass note. So that whole part is like a roller coaster. I think of this song, if it was like a racing circuit, a car racing circuit, this would be the sequence of the most iconic, memorable turns that all the drivers talk about how fun it is to do, how difficult it is to get, but how great it is when you nail it. And as listeners to music, this is the part too that is the most catchy to the ear, right? I wanna go home with the armadillo. Good country music from Amarillo to Abilene. The friendliest people and the prettiest women you've ever seen. Okay, so it's all about that bass note section there. If the C part or the D part are giving you trouble, you can just strum a regular C and a regular D and then go to a G. You can totally do that, it's fine, right? But I want to show you how I do it here. All right, so that's how you do the chorus. Now let me show you the verse using this alternating bass strum approach. So this is gonna capture the vibe of the recorded version here. Looking at the first line, this is a good indicator of how we're gonna do it, right? Alternating bass notes. I have separate lessons teaching you this. The main idea is you take your chord, your G chord, and instead of just doing your 6th string, root note in this case for the G chord, and using that as your bass note, we are going to alternate between 6 and 4, 6 and 4, right? These are 2 notes that are in the G chord, right? But it's just gonna sound good, and we're gonna add a strum in between. So it'd be bass, strum, bass, strum, bass, strum, bass, strum. Now, one thing you can do, if you're able, is sneak in up strums. Bass down, a 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 bass down. Importantly, you can't ignore these up strums if they're giving you trouble, right? When you're down on your luck and you ain't got a buck, in London you're goner. Now for the D's, I'm going between 4 and 5. 4 and 5. Even London Bridge is falling down and moved to Arizona, and I know why. Okay, notice on that last G measure, I did a G7, and then a walk up to the C. All right, now for the C, I'm using an alternating bass note between strings 5 and 6. And the important part here is you keep these 2 fingers in your C formation, right? Now substantiate the rumor that the English sense of humor is drier than the Texas sand. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Now we're gonna walk up in that last measure there. Open to 1st fret on the 4th string, and that's gonna lead us into this E minor. You can hear the bass doing this on the Jerry Jeff Viva Terlingua album version, right? And we start off this measure. Now this measure, I'm not gonna do alternating bass notes for the first 2 measures, right? It's bass down, up, bass down, up, down, up, bass down, bass down. I wanna go home. And then you have the whole thing right there. All right, so that's gonna do it for all you need to play this song, right? I'll do a playthrough again with no singing, zoomed in tabs of the campfire version with the single strum, and then the sort of alternating bass note, secret stash version with those more complex bass lines. No talking, tabs on screen. You can reference those. There will be at a steady rhythm and everything. They're over on my lesson webpage. I also have my practice notes here. Each of these is written out, handmade by me, and it's just meant, my goal is to give you something to help you play this song. I'll also link out to a lyric sheet that I recommend if you want to sort of find something to sing along with and put it all together. All right, so have some fun with this one, y'all. To those of you still watching, you have made it to the end of the video. Thank you very much. I hope you found this one helpful. This is not the most popular song in the big picture as far as, you know, the globe and the most popular guitar songs. But I will say this is one of the most special songs, especially when it comes to Texas music, Texas country music. The song was the anthem, literally the song that opened the Austin City Limits TV show for a good 20 years, I think. You know, it's just a wonderful song. It's my pleasure to share it with you here. All right, so let me play it out here. Again, see my lesson webpage for all the good stuff. And I have some other Jerry Jeff songs as well. And yeah, man, I'm excited to show this one to you. I'll see you in the next one, my friends. Take care, and bye-bye. When you're down on your luck and you ain't got a buck, in London you're a goner. Even London Bridge is falling down and moved to Arizona. Now I know why. And I'll substantiate the rumor that the English sense of humor is drier than the Texas sand. You can put up your dukes, or you can bet your boots that I'll be leaving just as fast as I can. I wanna go home with the armadillo. Good country music from Amarillo and Abilene. The friendliest people and the prettiest women you've ever seen. Well, it's cold over here, and I swear I wish they'd turn the heat on. And where in the world is that English girl I promised I would meet on the 3rd floor? And of the whole damn lot, the only friend I've got is a smoke and a cheap guitar. My mind keeps roaming, my heart keeps longing to be home in a Texas bar. I wanna go home with the armadillo. Good country music from Amarillo and Abilene. The friendliest people and the prettiest women you've ever seen. I decided that I get my cowboy hat and I go down to Marble Arch Station. 'Cause when the Texan fancies, he'll take his chances, and chances will be taken, that's for sure. In them limey eyes, they were eyeing the prize some people call manly footwear. And they said, you're from down south, and when you open your mouth, you always seem to put your foot there. I wanna go home with the armadillo. Good country music from Amarillo and Abilene. The friendliest people and the prettiest women you've ever seen. I wanna go home with the armadillo. Good country music from Amarillo and Abilene. The friendliest people and the prettiest women